If you speak from a place of pain, I'm lonely, there's nobody out there for me, I'm miserable, you ain't getting love, sister. And it's the same thing with money. Money has to move. So the more you open the conduit to giving your energy, giving your value to an organization, to people, to customers, to community, to whomever, you attract more money back. Money wants to move. It wants to flow, but you need to direct it to flow through you by being an open conduit. Welcome to Old Money, a show dedicated to helping you build the trust fund you wish you were born with. Ladies who lunch, listen up. Life is not about looking rich. I want you to build a life and a legacy that feels rich in every sense of the word. If you're ready to stack cash, talk shop, and trade insider secrets, you're in the right place. These are the new rules to old money, so let's get after it. Hello, rich girls. Welcome back to another episode of Old Money. And it's not just any episode, it's our 50th episode. And if that didn't make you think of Cher Horowitz and Clueless, it was his 50th birthday. I don't know what will, but you know the drill. It's the Old Money Podcast, the podcast for women building the trust funds they wish they were born with. And I am your girl, Amber Frank-Husen. Thank you for being here. 50 episodes. It snuck up on me pretty quick. I guess I thought 50 episodes would take a year because 52 weeks in a year. But, you know, my childhood trauma showed up and I over-delivered because nobody asked for it and dropped more episodes than I needed to along the way. And here we are just 9 months into this process with 50 episodes under our belts. And wow, I'm certainly better off for it. I can absolutely say that in the last 50 episodes, my net worth has grown, my financial literacy has grown, and my awareness of wealth consciousness has actually kind of blown my mind. In this episode, what I want to talk about are the 5 most salient lessons that I've gleaned from doing the 50 episodes. And I don't think they're going to be what you think they're going to be, because they actually surprised me. And we're going to do 5 because, yeah, I know we're on 50 episodes, but I'm not going to give you 50 lessons. That's what the old podcast archives are for, right? So today, the 5 topics that have kind of blown my mind. And if you're one of the people who responded on our Instagram poll that you are a little bit more woo-woo, this is going to be a good episode for you because we're really going to tap into the wealth consciousness because that's what's been coming through. And that's why this journey has been so crazy. I launched this podcast August 2023. I initially had the idea for Old Money, it's so cliche, but in the shower in early 2023. And then I spent about 6 months getting it ready to launch. So that was recording the first episodes and re-recording them over and over and over again for a multitude of reasons. You can go back and listen to episode 1 for a little flashback on that. But re-recording, stressing out, doing the photo shoots, making the art, figuring out the brand, and worrying, just worrying. And all the things that I was worried about, it's not that they didn't come to fruition. It's just that I've been doing better things than focusing on the things that I was worried about. Like I was afraid that I would be judged. I was afraid I was going to get bad reviews. I have been judged, I'm sure. And most people don't say anything. And a couple people who did come through when we charted early didn't like my Valley Girl voice. And I get it. I can be incredibly annoying and I apologize. But the point is, like, I worried about not doing a video component, for example. And I just stressed about it so badly. Like, oh, I'm not going to be successful because everybody uses video clips online to boost their Instagram and get exposure. I'm not going to do that. And it stressed me out so badly. And I just kept judging myself and judging myself. And then there was a point where I was like, I have to just proceed with what I can proceed with so I can get something going, or I'm going to just spin my wheels forever. Unfortunately, having that hard launch date of August 1st really did help me push to get it done. And I swear I've like blacked out. I'm like 50 episodes. That's at least 50 hours of me talking on a microphone. It's probably 100 to 125 to maybe 150 hours of research because I spend about 1 to 2.5 hours researching and putting together every single episode. It's not to mention the time that I've spent with our amazing team and social media and connecting with you guys in Old Money Country Club. I just can't believe all that time has gone by. And so we have so much to show for it. And I really want to acknowledge too, just how much time we've spent together. It's weird because sometimes I feel like I'm talking into a vacuum, but now that I'm connecting with so many of you in Old Money Country Club, I'm like, oh my God, you guys are real people. And like, we're all doing it together. And I think that's what's so magical about this. I needed this podcast and I didn't even know it. Like, I thought this was going to be a fun project for me, but it's raised my wealth consciousness in such a meaningful way over the last 9 months in ways that I couldn't even imagine. Because if you kind of get down to the brass tacks, it's like, what do I specialize in? Why am I here? Like, I'm just interested in making building wealth more approachable and more fun. I want to be around high earning women who are also trying to build generational wealth and live well. This is not scrimp and save and suffer to retirement. This is like, how can we squeeze the juice out of every moment while still serving our future selves, right? So some of those methodologies we've talked about, like tracking our net worth, earning more, calming our financial nervous system, investing, having multiple streams of income, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing that's been the most eye-opening is that this is all about expansion. And if you listen to the episode with Samantha Bird Shiloh, I think she nailed it. And that was honestly like an aha moment for me of when she said, the way that wealthy people talk to their kids about money is all about expansion. What can you build with this? Can you start a business? How can you earn more? What are we going to do with this money? And on the other side of the coin are the parents who aren't wealthy or struggle with their own money or wealth consciousness. And they talk about restriction. We can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. You need to save more. You need to work harder. Instead of this, where is the opportunity? That was such an aha moment for me. And the reason it resonated was because we were talking about kids, right? We're talking about, and she has 3 boys. I think they're all under the age of 9. So that's the framework that we're talking about, how we're speaking to kids about money. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all of our inner childs that we're trying to reprogram all of this bullshit that got put on us by society, by culture, by our parents, by churches, by commercials about what it means to be wealthy. And while I can teach on not carrying a credit card balance and how to get out of debt or how I started my business, the thing that I'm learning alongside all of the rich girls here are the energetics. And I'm really focusing in my life of speaking from a place of desire, not a place of pain. There are some pieces of this that I have gone through the transformation, so to speak. Like, I was in 5 figures of debt and I now never carry a credit card balance. I used to have no savings. Now I have too much, probably. Should invest more. I used to not have a net worth, and now I've grown my net worth exponentially by hundreds of percent. I don't even know if that's how you say that, but it's a lot bigger than it was, right? Like, I'm on the other side of that. And what I want to give to listeners of Old Money is that there's always something on the other side of the hard work. And I'm going to tell you, it feels pretty fucking good, especially surviving in this economy, not being in debt, and figuring out how I can embody the next level of that. And so we're all on this path and we're all at different stages of this path. And while I'm not like retired, I don't have multi-million dollars in the bank that I'm just living off of interest in. That's where I'm headed, I hope. That's what I'm working towards, I hope. But it's about the transformation that we're all going through together. And the thing that is boiling it all down is that the process of doing this and being so intentional with my money and finances and the way that the world works and what the hell is happening out there is that my wealth consciousness has grown so much. Before we get into the 5 biggest lessons that I've learned in the last 50 episodes, I just want to say again, thank you for everybody that's here listening to this. But I wanted to touch on again, launching the podcast and all the worry that I had. And through it all, I recognized how much energy I was spending on worrying and judging myself and comparing myself to other people. And this is, I'm not the first person to say this. We've all been through it. But what I've realized is that this message, this is not about me. And that allows me to show up. I'm not doing this podcast for accolades. I'm not doing it to give you a diary of everything that goes on in my life. I do share a lot about my life. I could probably share more if you are interested. But what's happened over the course of creating this is that all of a sudden I look back over my shoulder and I have a canon of episodes to refer to. And if I wouldn't have gotten started, I wouldn't have this. And is the podcast, supporting my entire life and paying my salary? No, it's certainly not. But how can I give it the opportunity to do that if I never got started? And so if there's something out there for you that you're dreaming of a vision, something on your vision board, you have to take the first step, and it's going to be shaky. I told you I re-recorded my first episodes like 3 times each. It was a nightmare. I cried a lot, but I did it. I got through it. And now that's so far in my rear view because I'm thinking about episodes 50 through 60 now. You know what I mean? I had on my vision board since 2018 that I wanted to have a podcast. And then again on a 2021 vision board, and again on a 2023 vision board before Old Money had even come into my brain. If there is something on your heart, it is on your heart for a reason. You're meant to do it. And it's all of that inner judgment that gets in the way of us executing on living out our dreams. Your future self requires you to be uncomfortable. And if you knew everything that you needed to know now and you were going to be an expert in everything, then you would have been a billionaire already. There's more for us to learn. There's more for us to be novice at. There's more for us to be newbies at. And as they say, you have to climb Cringe Mountain, and your transformation is your responsibility, the way that mine is as well. So I want to celebrate with you today and thank you for giving me the opportunity to have this transformation and for allowing me to be a part of yours. Because like I said, this is not about me. It's very quickly become about us. The Rich Girl community is insane. I have never seen a more curated, elevated group of women. And there's a couple guys in there, our Old Money boys, but there's over 100 members in the Old Money Country Club. If you haven't joined, you need to get in there. It's free. Come in, hang out, and raise your wealth consciousness along with all of us. Not a lot of programming in there yet because I don't know what to do with it. So if you guys have ideas, I don't know, we'll talk about it. But anyway, let's get on to it. Today's episode is all about the 5 lessons that I've learned in 50 episodes of Old Money Podcast. Hey, Rich Girls, if you're anything like me and want to live back in 1969 at the Palm Royale Country Club, having martinis, playing tennis, and living your best life, well, I have a surprise for you. You are cordially invited to join the very first and only Old Money Country Club right here on the internet. That's right. We finally put together an online community for all of our rich girls and boys to come together and find the inspiration they need, the resources they want, and the community they crave. That's right. We are not only building our net worths, but we are building our network. And this is the place where you're going to connect with all of the other rich girls that are out there on this financial journey with you. Because I need you to know you are not alone, no matter where you are at in your financial journey, whether you're paying off debt, tracking your net worth, learning to invest, or wanting to start a business. There are other women out there who are trying to do the same thing as you, and you need to meet them. These are your new best friends and your new business partners. So in this online community, the Old Money Country Club, you're going to find the resources that we have for the show. You're going to have monthly money date prompts where I'm actually going to show up and do money dates with you to keep us all accountable and healthy on our money journey. There'll be exclusive information you can't find anywhere else. And I promise you, you're going to want to come in, shake up a martini, and join us in this country club. Find the link to join in the show notes. I welcome you in there. Again, find our link to join in the show notes or check us out on social. We love you so, so much and can't wait to see you on the inside. Okay, let's get into it. Lesson number 1 is nothing matters more than your relationship with money. I kind of stacked the episodes 1 through 10 with all of my biggest ideas or theses about money. And episode number 1 is all about make money your boyfriend, improve your relationship with it. And now Money and I have been dating for a really long time, but I'm seeing it in more of a metaphysical type of way. And if you're not woo, hang on with me. I promise I'll try to explain. But here's what I mean by that. I went to a conference. Basically, it was like a get rich quick scheme. I took Justin to one part of it, and we were looking at each other being like, if people follow this advice, they're going to go to jail. It was very weird. However, what they did talk a lot about was the origin of money. And money is also known as currency, right? currency, current. Current like electric current, like a river's current. It's this idea that money has to move. Money has to flow. It flows like the current of a river. It flows through the economy. It flows through us as people. Back when they first started using money as a method of bartering, basically, it used to be like, hey, take my 2 sheep for my 1 goat or whatever. But then they were like, hey, take my 2 sheep for 5 coins. And when they started making coins, they actually had precious metals in them, things that inherently had value, because as the weight of the gold would equal the value of the 2 sheep or the goat or whatever. Well, now our coins and our paper, they don't have any meaning anymore. There's nothing of a value in those pieces, those items, except the value we assign to it. So much so that it's not even backed by gold anymore. Like our US Treasury used to be backed by gold. It's not anymore. We print money and it's not backed by anything. So truly, money, currency, whether it's a coin, whether it's a dollar bill, $100 bill, or zeros on your bank statement, it's all just a meaning that we've assigned. It's all arbitrary. But the idea of money and currency is really interesting to me because humans are electric beings. We have an electromagnetic frequency in our heart. That's how we operate. Like we are electric magnetic beings and we are conduits for money. So think of it this way. If money's going to flow around you, that's cool because that's everybody else doing stuff with money. But if you want to become a part of the equation, you have to let money flow through you. How do you do that? You become a conduit for money. You become a person who's available to receive it by giving some energy in exchange. I'm going to give you my energy, my 2 goats, in exchange for this thing that has arbitrary value, my 2 coins. Your brain, your ideas, your work, your labor, it's all 2 sheep. I hope that makes sense. It's like the value of what you bring to an organization or a community, that's got value just the way that 2 sheep would, right? So when you're going to be a conduit for it, that means you're going to be open to receive it because you're also letting the energy flow out of you and then something else can flow in. When you have a desire for money, for growth, for expansion, for creative opportunity, you open that conduit more to allow more money to flow into you. Think of it this way. If you want to get into a relationship, I love relationship analogies because I think that's something we can all relate to. You're looking for a man, okay? Are you going to be out there being like, I'm lonely, somebody date me? If you do have success with that, good on you, girlie. You must be absolutely stunning, but that's not going to attract, honestly, anything quality. You're not going into finding a relationship by wallowing in your loneliness, being at home, being closed off to the opportunities of love, of meeting somebody, of going on the dates. If you want a relationship in your life, you have to be open to it. You have to be a conduit of love. You have to give love out so that you can receive it and start to build a relationship. You build a little bit of love at a time. First, you're like, yes, I'll get a drink with you. Then I'll get another drink with you. Then maybe you can sleep over and I can show you how good I am in bed. You little by little give more value and then get more back. With money, it's the exact same thing. So when you're speaking from a place of desire, not a place of pain, you're going to be much more successful in getting what you want. I want love. I'm going to give love. I'm going to be open to love. I'm going to put my growth, expansion, my opportunity out there to receive it back. If you speak from a place of pain, I'm lonely. There's nobody out there for me. I'm miserable. You ain't getting love, sister. And it's the same thing with money. Money has to move. So the more you open the conduit to giving your energy, giving your value to an organization, to people, to customers, to community, to whomever, you attract more money back. Money wants to move. It wants to flow, but you need to direct it to flow through you by being an open conduit. So how do you do that? You have to be in a place of growth, expansion, and creative opportunity by looking for ideas, looking for opportunities, looking for possibilities to happen. I mean, that's why this podcast came to life. That's why AF Marketing, my marketing agency, came to life. That's why Jeff Bezos started Amazon. That's why Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook. It's why the lady that opened the store in my building that sells candles has a store open that sells candles, because she saw a creative opportunity and she became a conduit. She created a way for money to flow to her through her storefront. So for me, it sounds very metaphysical, right? But the relationship with money is just being aware of, are we speaking from a place of creative opportunity where we can allow money to flow to us? Or are we just stuck in the cycle of saying, I'm in debt and I need more money? That gets in a really sticky situation where we start to, and I've been there, blame everybody else. Blame the economy, blame whoever's president, blame the influencers that influenced you to buy another heart-shaped tape when you don't need it, right? When we create, or we try to create from a place of pain, it's so much harder to get shit to flow to us. If we create from a place of, how can I serve? Where is my value? What can I open to? What can I give into? When you feel conscious about that, to me, this is why this is number one. That's been the biggest switch in my brain of creating wealth consciousness. Because once you start looking for those opportunities, the partnerships, the transformations that are possible for other people based on what you can offer them, you are wealthy. A wealthy person sees opportunities and a broke person sees none. That's the truth. And I know that because I've been broke, okay? And I was done feeling broke. If you are done feeling broke, I would say improving your relationship with your money is the first and most important place to start. I would say if you're not broke, if you are building wealth, if you are trying to get wealthier, improving your relationship with money all the time and tending to the thoughts that you have about it is so key. How can we do this? Well, what's worked for me has been spending a ton of time researching money stuff and getting educated. I hope that Old Money Podcast can be your shortcut. Like, I'll do the heavy lifting and I'll report to you what I find. Spending time here, that builds your wealth consciousness. Spending time with your money in a money date builds your wealth consciousness, because you're spending time looking for opportunities of how to tweak, how to automate, how to improve, maybe just appreciating it more. Being really, really grateful for what you have and knowing that it's enough. Even if it's not exactly what you want, it's enough. And when we talk about building generational wealth, having the conversations with your kids about money and how it shows up and how money has to move. Money can't grow by just sitting under our bed in shoeboxes. We need to put it to work. That's how money works. It has to grow. It's a current. We are electric beings. We are conduits for money. We can create money. And for the love of God, I had this realization like a year into building my business of, holy shit, I made 6 figures with my brain and my laptop working on top of an ironing board. I was shook. I had such crazy ideas of what it meant to be in business, and it was a lot more simple than I thought. And the same thing with launching this podcast. You know what it takes to launch a podcast is recording yourself talking and then putting it on the internet. That's what it takes to launch a podcast. It doesn't take crazy amounts of money. It doesn't take a fancy photo shoot. It doesn't take anything other than continued effort in building something that's meaningful to you and to your audience. So when I say that the first and most important lesson that I've learned is the one that is always ongoing, our relationship with money is something that we have to tend to like it's a relationship with our partners. We can't take it for granted. We have to date it. We have to be in relation to it. We have to be open for it to come to us, just like we would want to be open to love. It really does take 2 to tango, and money is no exception. Item number 2 of what I've learned in 50 episodes of Old Money is that calming your financial fight or flight is a skill, and it will always take practice. Being reactive to money is really, really common. I still can be reactive to money. But the thing that I've been learning in therapy with my therapist, which has nothing to do with money, but everything to do with money, is that there's a very distinct difference between a reaction and a response. A reaction is like when they hit your knee at the doctor with that thing. Does that even ever happen at the doctor's, checking your reflexes? I only remember that from playing with like kids' doctor's toys. I was just doing that with my goddaughter recently, and you over exaggerate the reflex, right? The reflex, that's a reaction. It's something that's involuntary. It's when somebody calls out your biggest insecurity in something and you have a huge overreaction that is not at all in line with what they said. Like okay, she's not an insecurity, but like the way I protect her, like the precious angel that she is, if anybody says anything negative about my dog, no, absolutely not. Mama bear, full throttle, like do not say that she's fat. I know she's fat, but you can't say that. How dare you? I protect her. I have a reaction. I immediately hate that person. I'm sorry. It's true. I'm just sensitive. Okay. That has no basis in reality and it's irrational. It's a reaction. A response could be, oh, that's an interesting thought. Thank you for your observation or feedback. Or if I am triggered by something, I can take time away from the trigger and be like, okay, why did that person saying that thing trigger me so badly? When I take space away from the stimuli and I can think about my response instead of having a reaction, I've calmed my nervous system and I've been an adult. Honestly, that's what we owe to the people in our lives, to ourselves, is to over time stop having these big, oversized reactions to things and be cognizant so that we can have a response to things. When we are running old programming, we will have reactions come up all of the time. Like when you see a girl on your Instagram feed carrying 5 new Loewe bags and you are broke AF, it's triggering. And that's when the temptation comes up when you're out and you've had a glass of champagne with your girlfriends. You're like, ring it up, sister. Let's take it home. That is not a great emotional reaction to have. A response to it can be, I feel triggered by seeing somebody else with belongings that I want to own. I need to take responsibility in figuring out a way to afford that. Maybe I can sell some stuff on the Real and put it towards a new bag secondhand. Maybe I don't need that thing. It's just a seasonal item, whatever it might be. Maybe you get triggered when your next door neighbor gets a brand new car and you're driving an old beater. And your emotional reaction to that is, I'm not doing as well. I don't feel good about myself. They must feel so good in their car. I don't have any confidence in my car. I need to get another new thing. A calmed financial nervous system, a calm response to that is, wow, I don't have a new car. It would be nice to have one, but I control the financial priorities in my life. And my financial priorities right now are XYZ. Maybe it's traveling. Maybe it's paying off debt. Maybe it's saving more money so that you don't have a car payment. And I can feel good in my choices and I can feel strong about the autonomy that I have over my finances to not be triggered by what other people buy. When you're running old programming, when you're overworked and you're dysregulated, you just don't make intentional decisions with money. So to slow that down, the same way that if you have a relationship that's triggering you and you're trying to calm your reactions to it and instead have responses, I would recommend, or my therapist tells me, I should journal. I should go on a walk. I should move that energy differently. And most importantly, I should recognize that the way that I was reacting before didn't get me the results that I wanted. The results that I want are wealth. The results that I want are stability in my finances. The results that I want are being able to afford a Loewe bag or 5 without going into debt because I've intentionally decided that those are the things that I want my money to go towards and I don't have any guilt about it. Because what you often don't see in the Instagram picture or in the person that parks next to you in the parking lot is what their car payment is or how much money they have owed on their credit card or what savings they do or do not have. And I'm not saying think the worst of everyone. I'm just saying we don't know the whole picture, but you do know your whole picture. So the more we can calm our financial fight or flight around our triggers and how we spend and how violently we spend and when we spend to placate ourselves because we're feeling sad or lonely or not good about ourselves. When we are in the state of fight or flight, let me tell you what else happens. We block that current. We block the currency because we are not open conduits. We're just in survival mode. That's what fight or flight really is. It's literally a survival mode. And when you are reacting based on every stimulus that's happening around you, as opposed to being intentional with your money, You're going to continue to be a closed conduit. You're going to be in a state of fight or flight, and it's just not a very fun feeling. The reason I can say that, and the reason I say it with so much love, is because I've been there. In fact, just wait till the next episode. We're going to get into some of my personal finances. You guys are going to love this. I can say this from a place of I've been on both sides. So if it's the only way that you've ever felt about money, like I feel for you, girl, it's very, very common, but there is a better way to feel about money. There's a way to feel about money that doesn't feel so restrictive. There's a way that doesn't feel so overwhelming. There's a way that you can find money works for you. We're going to have another episode. Speaking of other episodes, I told you I'm planning episodes like 50 through 60 right now. However, talking about compounding interest and just this tipping point that happens. And I know when you're giving $25 a month or $25 a week to your savings account, you're getting, okay, a couple bucks a year in interest. And it's like, what am I even doing this for? But there's this crazy tipping point that happens. And it's actually not a lot of money in the scheme of things, where you start making interest in a high yield savings account hand over fist. And you're like, I'm sorry, how much money did I make for free for keeping my money with you? I should quit my fucking job. Sometimes I look at my bank and I think that, and granted, I don't have anywhere, we already talked about this. I'm not making enough interest to quit my job. Don't get it twisted. But it's like, that's the dream. That's possible. That's crazy. And that's actually how a lot of people live. A lot of really wealthy people just live off of the interest of their investments or the earnings on their investments. And I'd love to be that way. So that's the desired outcome that I want. So if I want to go in that direction, am I going to go in that direction when I buy literally everything that's promoted on TikTok Shop? No, I don't. I don't. And I can tell you that I don't, because every time I start to buy stuff on TikTok Shop, shit spirals out of control. Okay. So here's the thing, calming our financial fight or flight and going back to that episode, I think it's episode 3, listening to that again. I just listened to it again. It's a refreshing episode because I think we can all work on this of calming our impulses and also finding better ways to soothe ourselves than by filling the gaps that we feel with things to buy. Okay, item number 3 on the top 5 things I've learned in the last 50 episodes of the Old Money podcast is you cannot save your way to wealth. And this is exactly why in the tagline of Old Money, I say build wealth and live well, because I'm so sick of this narrative that we should just save all of our pennies, clip coupons, not get our lattes, and live frugally in order to build wealth. Now, we look back at a lot of old money families and the values that they have to keep themselves wealthy, preserve their wealth, and frugality is one of the tenets of many old money families. Many generational wealthy families are known for their very frugal habits. We've talked about the Volvo that everybody in the Northeast drives, the old Volvo, and it helps them live below their means and save for the future. That's totally fine to do when you already have a nest egg and you're being very prudent about your money. You're not making rash reactions with your money. You are making good decisions for the benefit of your wealth over many generations. That's actually old money value number 4. True wealth is not built by frugality. It's built by mindfulness. However, it's hard out there. I get it. And if you want to keep up, you got to keep innovating. You got to keep moving the money around because things are spinning faster than ever before. And as we discussed, money, currency, it needs to move in order to have value and to continue to grow. So you have to create value. When we talk about you cannot save your way to wealth, I ask you, is true wealth to you money in the bank, a fat 401k, a retirement where you can't do shit? Because that is not wealth to me. Wealth is an embodiment of living well. We talked about the etymology of the word. Wealth truly means the state of being well and whole and enjoying our lives. Because for me, over the course of the last 9 months of researching this, I'm like, God, I talk about money a lot. People must think I'm obsessed with it. And I kind of am because I'm fascinated by it. we haven't even scratched the surface about like all the craziness in the stock market and the government and all the blah, blah, blah. I can't keep up with the news cycle. It's just chaotic. And I'm trying to calm my nervous system. The cortisol. Oh, you guys, I also got my blood test results back. My cortisol went down. Are you proud of me? It's been 9 months of me complaining about my cortisol on this podcast and it's finally going down. So yay me. Anyway, we're talking about what? We're talking about wealth. Yes. Or we're talking about living well. That's right. What does wealth mean? People think I'm obsessed with money, and I am. But what I'm really obsessed with is living really well and living a wealthy life. And my wealthy life is going to look different than your wealthy life, because today my wealthy life included the fact that I sat with my dog in the park in the sunshine while I took a call for 30 minutes and I didn't have to be at my computer. And that was beautiful for me. And most days, my wealthy life looks like not having a ton of meetings cluttering my calendar so that I can make creative projects happen. I can do strategy projects. I can deep dive into my clients' work and really get into it as opposed to jumping from meeting to meeting. My wealthy life looks like drinking really good tea, sleeping in, not having a schedule, being able to take time off when I need to take time off and make the time up when I have the energy for it. It's about autonomy for me. It's about being able to do what I need to do to serve my life, not just serve my desire to make money. So for me, I could be working 100 hours a week in my business, and I think my life would feel really poor because I wouldn't have good relationships. My dog would be resentful. I probably wouldn't work out. I wouldn't feel healthy. I wouldn't have any balance in my life. And for me, that's not a wealthy life that I want to lead. So when I say you can't save your way to wealth, that means a few things. Number one, it means that being frugal is cool if you're into that, but it doesn't build you a lot of wealth outside of the wealth that you can count in your bank account. And I just want to keep us in check on that. And it also reminds us that the reason we're doing this is to live and to experience. So we cannot save our way to wealth because we will not feel wealthy and will not live well lives if we are not experiencing life and we're just trying to save every dollar that we make. To be in a state of wealth, that means looking for more opportunities, because not only can you not save your way to wealth, the way that we discussed in item number 1, to bring more wealth to you, more resources to you, is to be a conduit for the currency to flow through you. If you want more wealth in your life, create more streams of revenue that can flow to you. Put your talents into the world, serve more people, create a storefront, an online store, a service, teach somebody something, create more things that people want from you to create more wealth in your life. Be a conduit, be open to it. Don't sit at home and say, I'm broke, I'm tired of being broke, and everything else is someone else's fault. Creating opportunities for money to flow into our lives, that's the embodiment of being a wealthy woman. And the way that we think about money and the way that we think about having to save it and be really responsible with it, that's all important, but it has to be balanced out with deciding what a wealthy life means for us and then go for that. So we're about to jump into item number 4. And was I right when I said at the beginning, like, I don't think you think this is what I was going to talk about? Because I'm telling you, the biggest takeaways from doing all of this is that it's all in my head. It's all in my head. And that's what item number 4 is. Well, let me tell you what item number 4 is. The reason we're listening to this podcast, the reason we're all going to work, and the reason we're all ambitious is because item number 4 of the 5 things I've learned in 50 episodes of Old Money Podcast is that we're all chasing a feeling. That's why we're doing this, because we're chasing a feeling of what we think wealthy is going to feel like. We all have this inside of us. And the more that I've thought about it for myself and really reflected on what I think I'm going to feel like as my future self, some pretty core emotions come up. And this dovetails really nicely into the last point too, which is, it's more than just numbers on your bank account statement. It could be a number of podcast downloads, a number of Instagram followers, a New York Times bestseller. It might be a marriage, or it might be the feeling that you want to feel when you're on stage, all the things that make your life wealthy, or the numbers that are on your bank account statement. You think they're going to give you significance, connection, safety, security, joy, popularity, fun. I don't know. It's all of these core emotions. And when we look to old money families or people that have generational wealth, they have a lot of core beliefs about the world and ways they operate in the world that are just different than a lot of the ways the majority of the population reacts. We talked about this, looking for opportunities, looking for new investments, looking for new possibilities to bring money into them. But at the end of the day, these people are just people. These are people who pay their taxes, or maybe not. I don't know. That's another conversation. But they have to brush their teeth and take shits. They have mothers and fathers and sons and daughters. They have coworkers. They drive in traffic. They lay their head on a pillow every single night, and they feel the same things we all feel. Wealthy people are no different than you or I as it relates to their makeup as humans. They just think about money differently. And I guarantee that they also thought that money would give them significance, connection, safety, security, etc. And maybe you could argue that Jeff Bezos got popularity and significance and connection with Lauren Sanchez because he's Jeff Bezos and has $1 bajillion. But what happens if Amazon tanks? What happens if he goes broke? What happens if his house gets blown over by a tornado? What happens if any of those things happen to you? What happens if you lose your job? What happens if you go broke? What happens if your house gets blown away by a tornado? You're still the same person inside. So who are you when you take all the money away? You're the same person you are without money. So I challenge us to say, are we going to change when we get money, or are we going to be the same people that we are now? And if we're going to be the same people that we are now, probably just a more amplified version of us, honestly, can we try to feel the feelings that we think being rich will bring us today? Can we choose to not feel scarcity? Can we choose to feel abundance? Can we choose to not feel alone? Can we choose to feel connected with our friends, our family, our community, with the Rich Girls and Old Money Country Club? Can we choose to give ourselves significance without assigning a number to it? We're all chasing this feeling. And I think the sooner we figure out what those feelings are, we can get really clear on what we're chasing and start embodying it now. And this is the trick with the future self, right? Because when you think about your future self, it's this like far away version of you. It's like, oh, I'm the coastal grandmother and I'm so wealthy and I'm just reading a Elin Hildebrand novel in Nantucket or whatever it might be, right? But if you are going to spend time with your future self, and you've got to spend time with your future self, you've got to get to know her on a more base level, because you can't feel her or be her if you don't know her. And so if you can collapse the timeline and feel her now and be her now, you're going to have the feelings that you desire now. You don't need money to stoke the flames of your fire. You can feel how you want to feel now if you choose how you feel now. If you choose how you dress, you choose how you speak, you choose how you act. And your awareness of this is going to make it come to life for you faster. We're all chasing a feeling. And the more time I spend with myself in this feeling that I want to create, the more I think I don't need anything or anyone. I feel good now. And I can say that because I have some money in the bank and I have some savings and I have a good job and things are moving forward. But I'm able to be my future self now and make more aligned decisions to get to my future desired self more quickly and more effortlessly. Now, item number 5 is going to sound a little contrary since you are listening to the Old Money Podcast. And I don't want you to stop listening to the Old Money Podcast, but this is probably the thing that needs to be said more than the other things, is that information is great, but execution is everything. That is right. Item number 5 on the top 5 things that I've learned in 50 episodes of Old Money Podcast is that execution is everything. I really got into this with Hannah Huante on her podcast, How Han Sees It. Han? I don't know. Han? I love you, Hannah. I don't know how to say it. I apologize, but go listen to her podcast. It's so good. Information is great. We talk about the tactics. We talk about investing. We talk about automation, tracking your net worth, your networking tracker, all the things. These all matter. They all take time. You have to do them. You have to go set up your investing. You have to go automate your shit. You have to track your networking tracker. You have to follow up with the people. You have to make it happen. And if you get anything from this podcast, it's just a little bit of information that you can be dangerous with. But I want you to get out there and try. This is my Brene Brown moment. It's do not judge if you are not in the arena. You cannot build wealth if you are not in the arena. If you are not trying, if you are not doing something different, if you are not investing, don't think your net worth is going to grow by you manifesting it by sitting on your couch. You have to take action today because I'm here giving you information. And like I said, I don't want you to stop listening to Old Money Podcast. I love that you're here and I love information, but the information isn't going to make you rich. The execution is. So if there's one thing that you get, if you've made it to the end of the show, I want to give you the permission slip to block out an hour on your calendar today or tomorrow. Block it out. It's your hour. It's your life. You are important. You deserve the time. And go execute on something that's going to move the needle for you. It could be, and I'm not talking about bullshit like designing a logo. No, I want you to make a sales call. I want you to call somebody and say, hey, I can teach your kid piano for $50 an hour. Can I do that? I want you to go redo your resume. I want you to spend an hour brainstorming ways that you brought value, tangible value to the company that you work for in the past year. Tell them how you increased their bottom line and then be compensated for that. If you didn't increase the bottom line, you better spend an hour figuring out how you can increase the bottom line. I want you to go mow somebody's lawn, sign up on Rover, dog sit a dog, offer a service, do a thing. Or you could go set up your investing account, go open a Vanguard account. You could start your automations for your savings to your Capital One account. So you could have all of your little earmarked savings accounts so you can save for your Christmas presents. It's now June. You have 6 months to save. So why don't you take care of your Christmas presents now? Don't go over budget this year and start putting away $100 a month for the next 6 months. And that will be your Christmas budget. Maybe you're going to go make a credit card payment. Maybe you're going to sit with your journal and you're going to reflect on how you're wealthy today. Whatever it is that you do, I want to just be the one that pushes you over the edge to give you enough information so that you can go do something to create a better life for yourself. Because if you're listening to this podcast and you want to be wealthy like I do, we're in this together. We deserve it and it's coming for us. So you better get ready. 50 episodes of Old Money Podcast. Holy cow. I'm telling you, I've literally blacked out. I'm so appreciative that you're here. If you have questions for me to answer on the podcast, send me an email, oldmoneypodcast@gmail.com. If you have some personal deets you don't want to be revealed, that's totally cool. Everything's anonymous and you can actually submit an anonymous note on our website, oldmoneypodcast.com. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. Cheers to another 50 episodes and I'll see you on the other side. Bye. Feeling rich? I hope so. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Old Money. If you have questions you want answered, email me at oldmoneypodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on social. We are at Old Money Podcast and I am at your service. If this episode spoke to you, inspired you, helped you, if you took a single note, it would mean the world to me if you could please just take a minute to rate and review the podcast. And if you're not doing so already, subscribe. And if you have friends who like getting rich, please share this episode with them, even if it's just on your Instagram story. And I'd love you more than Jeff Bezos loves Amazon Prime. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Remember, I'm not your lawyer, I'm not your tax professional, and I'm not your financial advisor. The content presented in this podcast is intended to entertain, educate, inspire, and support listeners in their personal and professional development and does not constitute business, financial, or legal advice. In addition to that, this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services.